All right, so this is part two of my interview with Willie Hogan. I'm going to start off with, did your participation in sport as a child influence you in any way?
Yes, I was the manager of the basketball team, and that started off in the sixth grade, and I went all the way from sixth grade all the way through high school with that, and then I think that's when I started really getting into sports was sixth grade. I was also ran track, and I was wide receiver and cornerback for the football team.
Cool. Um, in what ways did college or school, but college specifically, prepare you for the job you currently hold?
Um, I would say time management for the most part, as far as college specifically, because you're not only going to classes, you have meetings with your advisor, you got to schedule all that stuff. But my professor was a big influence. One of the things that he told me was it's not about your wins and losses. It's specifically about what's going on around athletics, and that's when he talked about classes, we would always refer back to that because he was like, well, what's going on in sports today? And whatever we talk about, he would refer it. He'd be like, I don't care if the Cavs lost or won. We need to know what's going on around that.
Yeah. um. So, what internships or jobs did you hold before this one that you believe prepared you for a job in sport management?
A lot of them, and just not my internships, but also my volunteer opportunities because I've gotten pretty good volunteer opportunities, pretty decent ones, honestly. Volunteer-wise, I worked with the National Sports Council a lot. That was the Music City Bowl, the SEC basketball tournament. During the SEC basketball tournament, I even met the commissioner champions for the SEC, or one of them, and I also worked Music City Marathon, and that just gave me a broad perspective of what goes on in a bigger event, not just a sole like NC State athletic event. It was more of a citywide event that you can do, but I also worked in ticket sales and operations for Lessons and Legends, and that opened up as far as the marketing side of what you can do and just being creative as far as what can you do in the game, just to beef it up as far as to make the fans excited, engaging with the fans. I was also operations with the Nashville Venom as well as the another arena football team in Kentucky. I totally forgot the name right now, but one of those. And then also working with the Tennessee State Athletic Department as well as the EKU Athletic Department as well. And I feel like those have prepared me as far as on the college athletic side.
Yeah.
I can see the ins and outs of that. And then this one is already has opened up my eyes way more than the other two.
Yeah. So what did those internships teach you that maybe college didn't that you can relate to your job now?
A lot really. Other than because main thing in college you learn about time management.
Yeah.
That it's just juggling that. But I'm trying to think like the Lessons and Legends, like with the ticket sales, just as far as how they market towards certain people and how they reach certain people. That blew my mind. Just for ticket sales, that there's so many people in the ticket office, and they had a state of Kentucky, and they divided it up like a pie and was like, you got to call this place, you got to call this place, but they had everybody call the same surrounding areas, and they divided everything up. So that's how you reach your target market. And then there's certain events that they are going to market towards certain areas of the state, that blew my mind. So that goes along with like coordinating your ticket sales with your marketing department and just things like that. And that one thing that they do, like literally they'll have the end of the season, like say the end of minor league baseball season ends around September. They have 1 week of a break after that's over with, and then they have their marketing meeting just to write down every type of event that went well, that went bad, or what they can improve on and what events we can possibly have in the future. But I mean, for the most part, just creativeness, and just it opened up my mind on like the many possibilities, and not just the Lexington Legends, but all of the events that I've worked in the past have opened up my mind on what you can actually do at an athletic event. Like even just this past weekend at for our Midnight Madness event, Prime Time with the Pack, it opened up my mind of what you can do.
Yeah, that was a really cool job. What kind of internships would you recommend for someone who's just starting out in sport management or marketing?
try to find ones that are in your interest, and you just have to figure out what exactly you want to do. Do you want to stick to certain sport, whether it be hockey, football, basketball, baseball, what have you, or do you want to get a broad look of everything and work in college athletics, and that way you get a small look at, or a decent sized look at multiple events. Like, you're not just doing football, you're not just doing basketball. You just got to figure out what your niche is for the most part. So if you want to go to communications internship. If you want to do a marketing internship. If you want to do guest services, things like that. You just have to find your niche. And that's why I say keep it as broad as possible. That way, because you never know what your niche is until maybe like right before you actually get your first full-time job.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep it broad as possible.
All right. So what is your current job title?
I'm a marketing assistant. And did you want me to explain my...
Yeah. What responsibilities do you have?
My responsibilities... I'm over 5 different sports, or I'm involved in 5 different sports. Secondary football, secondary women's basketball, primary women's soccer, primary women's tennis, and primary gymnastics. And I'm also involved, or in charge of, the student volunteer program, and that's just hiring, scheduling, and making sure everybody has their events they need to be at. They're really a big help. But going back to football, some of my responsibilities for that are just making sure that our guests that we have for that game they know they need to be at the game at a certain time and where they need to be at, as well as I have to post a sponsorship entitlement post on social media. There's certain posts that need to be posted with that sponsor at certain different times of the week.
Yeah. So what skills do you look for when hiring someone? Because you said you were head of the volunteer program for the marketing.
Volunteer, basically for students, because obviously a lot of them don't have full-time jobs yet, so it's kind of hard to pick out certain things that they would need or want, or we would want. But I would say enthusiastic, hardworking students that are wanting to see and get their foot in the door, because that's the biggest step, is getting your foot in the door. Some people don't have that opportunity, just depending on what school they're at or where they work at. And even how involved they are within the university. Some people are so involved that they don't really realize that they need to get involved within their actual major or career that they want to pursue. So I would say just enthusiastic people that are willing to work and wanting to see how things work within athletics.
All right. Is there anything that you see on a resume and it immediately interests you in the person?
If it immediately interests me, it's something that basically that they've been involved in athletics at some point in time. Maybe that they've either played that sport. I interviewed a girl the other day, and we're looking for an intern to work with our women's tennis team alongside me. Yeah. And she actually played tennis at a different university and transferred here. So stuff like that, something's like that pops out to you is like, oh, well, we're looking for this, and you've worked with tennis, or you either played tennis, or just that they've been involved in some type of athletic, or even whether they worked at a rec center or stuff like that, so they know a little bit about sports, especially at a student volunteer level.
How many experiences, and also, if that's kind of a hard question, what kind of experiences would you recommend a college student have when they graduate? When they graduate,
I mean, it's hard to put a number on the amount, but it really just depends on the what career they're going to want to pursue. Because I mean, it can really vary. Because you could work a whole year with one organization and get a really, really good experience, or you can work multiple experiences at once and get a lot of good experience. It just depends on it almost really depends on what the employer is looking for. But it honestly just depends on what the employer is looking for and the amount of experience that they can present, because it all depends on what you can present to the employer. Because if you can't say that I've worked this and I've done this, and if it's not in the job description that you haven't done this, that it's going to be kind of hard to get a job.
So what are your plans for the future? Are you looking to rise any further in this department, or are you looking to go elsewhere?
Well, I fell in love with NC State when I ran track at Eastern Kentucky. I've actually ran at the Raleigh Relays here, and I love the campus, and I've been loving it ever since I got here in July as well. So if things work out
Yeah.
and I can rise up in the department or stay a little longer, that'd be great. But if not, my game plan would be to, and this is one thing I've thought about the past couple of years, is I want to take a FCS school and possibly bring them up as far as their branding and marketing to the FBS level. Because that's one thing that I've saw in the two schools that I used to go at, Cincinnati State and Eastern Kentucky, is they have potential to move up to the next level within their marketing and branding. But I mean, I want to be able to help them in that process.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, have you always wanted to work in marketing, or is this a new thing to you? I know you did that. You took that class in high school, but even before that, or a little bit after, did you have anything else in mind?
I've always wanted to do marketing, but with my experiences, when I was working in ticket sales with Less Than Legends and even operations, and even at Eastern Kentucky, I worked with the communications department, which they call media relations, which is around kind of the same concept, same idea.
Yeah.
But media relations, ticketing would be a nice job, but if I had the choice, I would want to stay within marketing.
Yeah. So you obviously enjoy the job you're in right now. I can tell that. What specific things do you enjoy about what you do?
Putting all the pieces together.
Yeah.
After you put all the pieces together and you sit back, when you finally have the time to, fourth quarter, the end of the match, depending on what part of it is or what sport it is, and you sit back and you realize like this really worked well. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you gotta, because we always have after every event we have a post-match meeting just to say what went well, what didn't go well, what we can change, what we should change for next year, things like that. But overall, when I sit back and I look back and like this event overall went well, and even just looking back saying like the fans really reacted well to this, they reacted well to that, things like that. Like the fan reaction is what I'm looking for, and them being happy and then being rowdy like they are.
Yeah. So what has been the highlight of your career as of right now? So like in other words, what are you most proud of?
Getting this position, honestly. I come from a small town, Frankfort, Kentucky. Some people don't realize it's the capital of Kentucky. And just the fact that I'm working at a Division I school, in my opinion, a top-notch Division I school, and I'm chasing my dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been doing it since I was little, and even my friends are like, man, you're doing your thing. Because you're doing exactly what you want to do. And I was like, and I just feel like I'm happy and proud that I'm here at this position now. And I can't look forward to moving on up in the world.
Absolutely. What adversity have you overcome? Is there any difficulties you had to get around to get to where you are?
For the most part, I would say adjusting, because honestly, at Tennessee State, I was a graduate assistant there, and it was a lot laid back, I will say that. And then on top of that, it's moving away, because I have family that's 7 hours away. And I'm not always seeing them. Right now, I don't really have many friends here, so I'm literally either at work or at home sleeping. I do hang out with some of my coworkers every now and then, but for the most part, adjusting to the amount of stuff that I'm in charge of, because I wasn't in charge of a whole lot of stuff at Tennessee State.
Yeah.
And at EKU, I was more of on a volunteer basis there. But just adjusting to the amount of work, and there's sometimes that I'm working until I go to sleep, even when I go home.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything's going pretty smooth.
Yeah, good. What advice would you give someone that wants to work in your field?
Be prepared. I mean, you're going to have to get a lot of experience for the most part, and just keep your head on straight. I mean, because there are going to be frustrating times. There's frustration at every event, whether it be ball kids not showing up on time, or you're almost out of posters or schedule cards, or the music's not working, or things like that. You just got to be able to adjust and stay positive for the most part, because you are marketing, and should be one of the most positive parts of the athletic event.
Yeah.
So you just got to stay positive and roll on to the next one.
So you talked about experience in your answer to the last question. How much experience do you think you need for the job you're in right now? Like how? So you had a lot of experiences, I can tell that, and that made you equipped you to do what you do now. How much do you think the normal person needs to have?
It really depends on the level of school, like the level of division that you're at, because at D1 level, there's a lot going on. The demand's a lot higher.
Yeah.
You have everybody wants to see everything. Everybody wants their spotlight, no matter what sport it is. And like here, there's 23 sports. The school I just came from only had 15 if I'm not mistaken. So the demand wasn't high. They still want their spotlight, but the demand's not high. It's because there's not so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But where you have to be flexible is you're going to be moving from one sport to the next. Like right now, middle of October, I have women's soccer about to conclude. I'm in the middle of football. I'm getting ready for women's basketball, and gymnastics is going to start in January. So you have to be flexible and know what your priorities are for the most part, because obviously I'm secondary football, but I'm primary soccer, so I have to make sure that my soccer stuff gets done. I have a match on Thursday, and then but still also make sure that any responsibilities you have for football are getting done as well.
Yeah.
Because I have a football game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you have to just balance out flexibility, and just be prepared, because it depending on what level of sport you work at, it's going to hit you, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be bumps in the road, and it's not necessarily wins and losses. It's more of like your event may not go well. But there's an event that may go extremely well later on or before in the season, so you just never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Nice to meet you.